I have internal customers at my company. They're placing files into a SharePoint document library that I then need to process into a database. But there's nothing to stop them from putting the wrong kinds of files. And so if they put the wrong kind of file, I don't want to process it and end up writing bad data to the database. So what do? In Azure Data Factory, there's a get metadata activity, which will allow you to choose a variety of different arguments in the settings to pull into the pipeline as a parameter. And if you use structure, you'll get the column names and types in JSON. So that's going to happen here. And I'm now going to pass that into a switch activity. And the switch has an expression. It has to resolve to a string. So it's going to start with string. And then I'm using an AND function. And I'm going to say the string of the column names should include email address and ZoomInfo contact ID. Now this first argument here comes from these activity outputs. All of the possible outputs of the get metadata activity are here, even though I didn't choose them all. So if I was to come up here and click any one of these, it would give you that activity with the name of the activity, dot output, dot the type of output that you are using. And then inside of this, I'm making sure those are converted to strings, doing a contains. And so if it has both of these columns, then the AND will resolve to true. It will return a string of true. So in my switch case, I'm saying if true, run this wait activity. There has to be something here. Essentially, this is just a placeholder, so it will move on to do my actual execution of my processing. But in the default case, when it's not true, I'm going to purposely cause it to fail. And so I've got a fail activity here, and it will say a bad file was detected. User added a file that is not the contact export, or it is missing key columns. Now, the way to execute this, and the way to make this something that you can reuse over and over, I called this pipeline utils_check input file, and I put it in a utilities folder. I'll demonstrate how this works by running a debug, and I'm going to test it on the good file. This will run quickly to get the metadata, and then it'll go into the switch. And we can already see here, if we look at the output, the metadata, here's our columns. I was looking for this one and this one right here. Now, let me test it on the bad file. And we'll see here the columns again, but it's not going to have those columns that I wanted, and it's going to fail. So here, you don't see those two columns. You can see it's a very different file. Now, how is this going to get used in practice? I want to have this one pipeline, utils_check input file, that I might reuse over and over. And so in another pipeline, the one where I'm going to actually have my steps for processing this file, I will start with an execute pipeline activity calling in utils_check input file. And so again, to test it here, first, I will do it on the good file and run this. And we don't get as much information here when we're doing an execute pipeline. We're going to see that it succeeds, but we can't see into the steps, which is why I wanted to show you with the utility one. When I look here, I can just see a run ID. I can see what the parameters were, but that's about it. And then when I do the bad one, we'll get a little bit more information because we will see that custom failure that we made. So let's debug this. So now if we look here, when I look on the error details, here is my custom error message saying that the user added a file that's not the right export.